Heavenly Stories.
In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills and olive groves, the people gathered eagerly around Jesus. His voice, calm yet commanding, drew them closer, as if they were hearing a secret meant just for them. Among them were farmers, mothers carrying children, shepherds with tired hands, and curious young boys whose eyes sparkled with innocence. They all leaned in, sensing that today's teaching would touch their hearts deeply. Jesus began to speak. Imagine a shepherd with 100 sheep. Every day, he counts them. Every day, he knows each one by name, and every day, he walks beside them, guiding them through the hills and valleys. One day, as he counts, he notices something unusual. 99 are safe in the fold, but one is missing. A murmur ran through the crowd. A single sheep lost, such a tiny number, yet so significant. Jesus' eyes scanned the crowd, connecting with each person. Wouldn't he leave the 99 to search for that one? He asked. Of course he would. Because each sheep is precious. Each one matters. The people listened intently, imagining the lonely sheep, scared and wandering, vulnerable to wolves and the cold night. Jesus continued, when he finds it, he doesn't scold it for straying. No, he carries it back, rejoicing, calling his friends and neighbors to celebrate the safe return of the one that was lost. Behind the story, there was a profound message, though not everyone saw it immediately. Jesus' words whispered of a love that does not give up, a love that reaches even into danger, into darkness, for the one who has gone astray. The shepherd's tireless search mirrored something far greater, the way God watches over each person, each soul, with unwavering care. A young mother clutched her child closer, feeling the warmth of comfort in her heart. A shepherd nodded, recognizing the truth in the story through his own nights of searching for lost sheep. The parable wasn't just about animals, it was about people, each one cherished, each one known, each one worth seeking. Jesus' tone softened as he leaned closer to the crowd. This is how it is with the kingdom of heaven. God rejoices more over one sinner who turns back than over 99 who need no repentance. He does not ignore the lost, nor does he wait for them to come on their own. He seeks, he pursues, he saves. The crowd fell silent. Some eyes glistened with tears. The concept of God's relentless love, of being individually seen and sought, sank deep into their hearts. The idea was simple, yet revolutionary. In a world full of people, each person is never just a number. Each person is a treasure. And even if they wander, even if they feel lost, God's heart is ever reaching, ever waiting, ever hoping. As the sun dipped behind the hills, casting long shadows over the village, the listeners began to understand the beauty of the message. It wasn't just about lost sheep, it was about every lost soul, every wandering heart. And the promise was clear. None would be forgotten. As the crowd absorbed Jesus' words, the image of the wandering sheep lingered in their minds. Jesus paused, letting the quiet stretch for a moment, then continued, his voice painting the scene vividly. Now, picture the shepherd leaving the safety of the 99 behind, he said. He doesn't hesitate, he doesn't question the danger. The night is dark, the hills are steep, and wolves prowl nearby. Yet he goes out. He searches every valley, scans every shadow, listens for the faintest bleat. He knows he cannot rest until he finds the lost one. The villagers could almost hear the faint cries of the sheep echoing through rocky cliffs and olive groves. A young boy whispered to his mother, "Wouldn't it be scary out there?" She nodded, realizing that the shepherd's courage mirrored something much bigger than mere duty. Jesus leaned closer, as if sharing a secret just for them. This is what God does for each of us. Sometimes, we stray without realizing it. We wander into places of fear, loneliness, or confusion. And even if everyone else seems safe, even if it seems easier to leave us be, God does not. He searches. He pursues. He calls out our name in the darkness, never giving up, never losing hope. A shepherd in the crowd rubbed his hands together, picturing the climb over rough terrain, the careful steps through thorny paths. "It is not easy," he said softly, almost to himself. "But it is worth it. Every time." Jesus smiled knowingly. The story continued to unfold. When the shepherd finally hears that faint sound, the cry of the lost sheep, his heart leaps. He runs toward it, lifts it onto his shoulders, and carries it home. He doesn't scold, he doesn't scorn. He rejoices. And when he returns, he calls his friends and neighbors to celebrate, for the lost has been found, and all is made right again. People in the crowd nodded, some quietly wiping tears from their eyes. They began to understand that this parable was more than just a tale of a shepherd and sheep, it was a mirror of God's love. Every individual is precious. Every straying heart matters. No one is too far gone, too lost, or too broken to be sought and saved. Jesus' eyes swept over the crowd, lingering on each person as though he saw their inner struggles, their fears, their doubts. "Remember," he said, "there is joy in heaven over one who turns back, over one heart restored. Not just a group, not just the majority, but one. Each one counts. Each one is treasured." A mother hugged her child, whispering softly, "You are never alone, even when you wander." A shepherd muttered, "It is the same for us, isn't it?" The message was simple, yet revolutionary: God's love is relentless. It is patient. It is personal. It is unwavering. And as the evening breeze rustled through the olive trees, carrying the faint aroma of earth and wildflowers, the crowd felt a quiet, profound truth settle within them. They were each seen. They were each known. And if they ever felt lost, they would not be abandoned. Someone, something greater than themselves, was always seeking, always watching, always ready to rejoice at their return. As the villagers sat quietly, Jesus began to describe the experience of the lost sheep itself, giving life to the little creature wandering alone in the hills. "Imagine," he said, "the sheep, separated from the flock. At first, it doesn't realize it has strayed. The grass seems greener, the path easier. But soon, the shadows grow longer, the night colder, and the sounds of the forest more frightening. It's alone, unsure, vulnerable." The crowd shivered, picturing the tiny sheep navigating jagged rocks, twisting paths, and unfamiliar terrain. Jesus' voice softened, almost a whisper. "This is what it's like when we wander away from the safety of love, guidance, and truth. We may feel independent, thinking we can handle life on our own, but sooner or later, fear and uncertainty find us." A young man in the crowd leaned forward, imagining his own moments of doubt and isolation. Jesus continued, "The lost sheep doesn't know how to get home. It bleats softly, hoping someone hears, hoping someone cares. And even when the shadows press in and the night feels endless, it is not forgotten. The shepherd is out there, calling, searching, listening for that faint cry." The villagers began to feel the tension of the story, the fear of being alone, the longing for rescue. And yet, beneath it all, there was hope. Jesus' words reminded them that even in moments of wandering, there is a persistent presence, a love that refuses to let go. Finally, Jesus said, "The shepherd hears the cry. He sees the trembling figure in the dark, and his heart leaps with relief and joy. He rushes forward, scooping the sheep into his arms. There is no blame, no punishment. Only love. Only celebration." The mother beside her young son whispered, "That's how God is with us." Her son's eyes widened, imagining someone running through the dark hills just to find him. A shepherd nodded, tears in his eyes, knowing the truth in his own life and in the lives of those he tended. Jesus smiled at the crowd, letting the weight of the story sink in. When the shepherd returns the sheep to the fold, he calls his friends and neighbors to celebrate. Not because he saved the sheep, though that is wonderful, but because the lost has been found. Life is restored. Joy is complete. And heaven rejoices. The parable echoed in the hearts of all who listened. They realized that the lost are never insignificant. Each wandering heart, each soul in doubt, each person who feels far from love, is pursued with tireless care. God's love is personal, active, and persistent. It reaches into the darkest places, seeking the one who is farthest away. As the sun dipped behind the olive groves, casting golden light across the village, the crowd began to understand the depth of God's care. The lost sheep was not just an animal, it was every person, every soul that has ever felt alone, abandoned, or uncertain. And the shepherd's love was a promise: no one would ever be left behind. Jesus' gaze swept the audience, soft yet intense, as if to speak directly to each person: you are seen. You are known. You are cherished. And if you ever feel lost, remember, someone is always seeking you, always ready to rejoice when you return. The villagers could almost see it now, the shepherd carrying the lost sheep back through the hills, the little creature trembling but safe in his arms. Jesus' voice grew warmer, full of life and celebration. When the shepherd reaches the fold, he said, he doesn't just place the sheep down quietly. No, he calls out. He shouts for joy. He gathers his friends and neighbors to witness the miracle: the lost is found. Imagine the excitement, the laughter, the shared relief. Everyone feels the triumph, because the one who was missing is now safe, whole, and loved. The crowd began to smile, imagining the scene: neighbors running to see the safe return, children clapping their hands, elders nodding with understanding. Jesus' words painted a picture of community celebration, a joy that overflowed beyond the shepherd and the sheep. This is what God's love looks like, Jesus continued. It's not silent or private. It rejoices openly. It spreads through hearts and lives. When a soul turns back, when a lost person returns, heaven itself celebrates. Angels rejoice. God's heart is full of joy. And we, his children, are invited to share in that joy. A young woman in the crowd whispered to her companion, "So even if I've wandered, I can come back." Jesus looked directly at her, his gaze tender and unwavering. Yes. Always. No matter how far you've strayed, no matter how lost you feel, there is a welcome waiting. And when you return, the celebration is as much yours as it is God's. The shepherd's story resonated deeply with everyone who had experienced loss or fear, whether of a person, an opportunity, or a path in life. The parable reminded them that recovery is possible, restoration is real, and love never abandons. Jesus leaned closer to the crowd, lowering his voice so that it felt like a secret meant just for them. "Notice something important," he said. The shepherd did not rejoice over the 99 who were safe. He already had them. The excitement, the celebration, the joy, these were reserved for the one who was lost. This is how God values every individual. Each person matters. Each return is a triumph. Mothers hugged their children tighter. Shepherds whispered quietly to one another, recognizing the truth in their own experiences. Even the children in the crowd, their eyes wide and innocent, felt the power of being seen, known, and loved. And here's the heart of it, Jesus concluded. The lost are not a burden. They are a treasure waiting to be found. God's love does not give up, and neither should we. Rejoice when the lost return. Celebrate every heart that finds its way back. Because each one is precious. Each one is known. Each one is deeply, infinitely loved. As the sun set, painting the hills with gold and purple, the villagers sat in silence, letting the truth sink in. The lost sheep was no longer alone. The shepherd's joy was complete. And the promise of God's relentless, personal love reached into each heart, leaving a lasting sense of hope and comfort. Even in the quiet of the evening, the message lingered: no one is forgotten, no one is abandoned, and every return is a cause for heaven to rejoice. The villagers had listened closely as the story unfolded, imagining the lonely hills, the trembling sheep, and the tireless shepherd. Now, Jesus paused, letting the weight of the parable settle in their hearts. Then, with gentle authority, he began to explain. This story, he said, is more than a tale about a shepherd and sheep. It is a glimpse into the heart of God. Each one of you, every soul in this village, and beyond, is precious. And even when you stray, when fear or doubt or temptation leads you away, God does not give up on you. He searches. He pursues. He rejoices when you return. A young man in the crowd looked down, thinking of his own moments of wandering. Jesus' eyes met his, full of understanding. Some may think their mistakes make them unworthy, Jesus continued. But God's love does not measure worth by perfection. He rejoices in your return, not your faultless journey. Each heart found, each life restored, is a celebration beyond measure. The villagers nodded. Mothers held their children a little closer, shepherds glanced at their flocks with renewed care, and children felt a quiet sense of security they had never thought about before. Every heart in the crowd began to understand that the parable was alive, it was speaking directly to them. Think about the shepherd, Jesus said. He could have stayed with the 99. It would have been easier. But he risked everything to find the one who was lost. That is the love of God, patient, relentless, personal. It does not give up. It reaches out in the darkness. It lifts the weary and carries them home. He let the crowd imagine the reunion again, the sheep trembling, yet safe, the shepherd's arms strong and steady, the celebration around the fold spreading through laughter and relief. That joy, Jesus said softly, is what happens in heaven for every soul that turns back. And it is the joy God wants each of us to understand, to feel, and to share. A mother whispered to her neighbor, "It's like God sees even the smallest, quietest cry." The neighbor nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Yes, every lost moment matters. Every wandering heart matters. Every return matters. Jesus' voice grew warmer, inviting, almost like a hug. So remember, the lost are never forgotten. Each person is loved deeply. Each one is sought tirelessly. And when the lost are found, the celebration is beyond what we can imagine. That is the heart of God. That is His care for you. And that, my friends, is how we are called to love others as well. The crowd remained in silence, letting the truth sink in. They had not just heard a story, they had felt it. The lost sheep, the tireless shepherd, the joy of return, all of it was a window into a divine, personal, and unending love. As the stars began to appear over the village hills, the listeners left with a quiet joy in their hearts. Each one carried the message, no matter how far we wander, no matter how lost we feel, God sees us, knows us, and rejoices when we come home. And with that hope, each heart was lighter, each spirit lifted, and each soul reminded of a love that never abandons. As the village settled under a sky painted with stars, Jesus spoke one last time, drawing the crowd into the heart of the parable. "Let me tell you why this story matters," he said. "It is not just about sheep. It is about each one of you, every wandering soul, every heart that feels lost or forgotten. God does not overlook anyone. He does not count you as just one among many. You are treasured. You are known. You are loved beyond measure." The crowd leaned in, sensing the weight of the words. Jesus' voice carried warmth and urgency together, as if he were speaking directly to every soul in the audience. Even when life's paths are dark, even when fear and mistakes lead you astray, remember the shepherd. He goes after the lost. He leaves nothing behind. That is God's love, personal, relentless, and joyful when one returns. He paused, letting a hush settle over the crowd, then continued. And there is more. When the lost are found, there is celebration. Not quiet relief, not silent acknowledgement, but joy that overflows, spreads to friends and neighbors, and touches the very heart of heaven. That is how much you matter. That is how great God's love is. It reaches into the dark, it searches tirelessly, it never gives up, and it rejoices beyond measure. A mother held her child close, feeling the reassurance of being seen and valued. A shepherd in the crowd nodded quietly, recalling nights of searching for lost sheep and feeling a divine echo in every step. Children imagined someone running through the hills just to bring them safely home. Every listener began to feel the parable come alive inside them, a living promise of love, hope, and restoration. Jesus smiled, letting the truth resonate. "The lesson is clear," he said. "No one is too far gone, too small, or too lost to be found. Each person matters individually. Each one is pursued with care. And when the lost return, heaven rejoices. That is the love you are invited to know, to embrace, and to share with others." The crowd remained silent, touched deeply, hearts lifted with understanding and hope. Jesus' story had moved beyond words. It had painted a vision of God's unending love, of personal care, and of the immense joy in restoring what was lost. The parable was no longer just a story, it was a mirror reflecting the very heart of God. Finally, Jesus concluded, "Remember this always, if you feel lost, if you wander, if life overwhelms you, you are never alone. There is a shepherd searching for you. There is a love that never lets go. And when you are found, when you return, the celebration is boundless. This is the promise. This is the joy. This is God's heart for you." As the villagers walked home that night, under the quiet glow of the stars, a sense of peace lingered. The lost sheep had been found. And with it, each heart felt the truth: God's love is patient, personal, and relentless. It pursues, it saves, and it rejoices. Always. The story ended, but its echo remained in every mind and heart. Every wandering soul was reminded, no matter the darkness, no matter the distance, love would always reach them. And that, more than anything, was worth celebrating.